everybody. We are in the middle of our discussion of Trustworthy, the book by Hartley Goldstone and Kathy Wiseman, which provides, as they say, new angles on trust from beneficiaries and trustees. We're already into chapter 2, and as you know, we've prepared a list of some of the key points out of this, and we're just going to go through that list, or continue to go through that list, and have a discussion about each one. And in our usual manner, we're going to collect our notes later and pass those around and build on them. So in chapter 2, I'm referring you to point 5, and the point of the author there, Kathy Wiseman, is to say that the opportunity for the trust is to, 1, educate the next generation, and 2, to promote maturity. You laugh.
What does that mean?
Well, that's the devil's in the details. So what do you think?
I'll create something.
Okay.
I think maturity would be a higher level of way of the trustee and those subject to the trust to interact, so that what is produced is a flourishing trust agreement and a flourishing family relationship. A trustscape, yes.
Back to a Hartley's term, yeah. So that you're saying that as a prerequisite for flourishing, or in other words, to really flourish, that there's a certain amount of education and maturity that comes along to that.
Yes.
And that's sometimes not in the document or in the discussions that you had with the client before it was created, before the trust was created. So somehow you have to get that information in your knowledge base so you can communicate that to the beneficiaries.
Well, I think part of it is educating the beneficiaries, and a lot of them have no idea how the trust is going to operate and what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So I think that's a critical part of the education, which moves to the maturity of the beneficiary.
Well, isn't that their premise though, that the beneficiaries typically don't know what the trust is all about?
Yes, that's right.
Or it's tax language or technical terms that they don't really understand or really in a very personal way benefit from.
Yes.
So
the maturity also is in the preparation of what is to come and understanding of that, so they can interact with it in the most effective way.
Right.
I think it's really getting to the point of what is the end result of, say, the parents of the trust or the creator of the trust. Do they want all parties of the family speaking in the end? Do they all want them to keep that relationship going? And how important is that to them? So I think they have to be very selective in how they, basically build that trust and what the hopes and dreams are. And I think by adding that into the trust helps elaborate to the members or the beneficiaries what the family structure was trying to accomplish.
Well, it's kind of an organic subject that's continuing to grow as their needs and expectations change. The trustee becomes aware of those, and then the functioning of the trust can keep up with those changes.
I think it also means, because you've got different beneficiaries of differing ages, their maturity level of being able to deal with what's being bestowed on them is critical for the trustee to understand that and be able to communicate with them on a level that makes some sense, to make it a trustscape that's more personal and emotional.
Yes, I agree.
So in other words, dealing with the context of where we're at, where the different beneficiaries are.
Right. Sort of like you were talking about before, the younger beneficiary who has never really dealt with wealth, coming into a situation where now there's wealth thrust on them. How are they going to deal with this? Is it going to make their lives better?
How will it change the interactions among the people in that network?
Yeah.
In the family.
We understand that this is the opportunity for the trust. How do we convey that to the family, to our clients, to the other trusted advisors who we're working with? Do you see any challenges or opportunities for
This goes back to a
outcomes.
prior conversation we had, 3 to 1.
Yeah.
And I think it's, like we talked about before also, I think it's how you set it up with the client. If you're focused, they're coming in for a technical reason. They've got a tax problem. They've got some issue that they want to deal with. They're not necessarily thinking about, what does this really mean on the impact of the family? How's it going to keep the family together? How is this family going to be harmonious long-term if this wealth has to go on for generations or even a short time?
Unless they're one of your clients.
Well, I do that anyway, but that's a different story.
Well, building on what Michael's saying, the setup, I would call that creating the context. Creating a context of how this conversation is going to go from beginning to end. And that would include who's the roles of each individual in the players, all the players at the table, including the family. So create the context, create the roles, create the understandings, create the agreements, create the where people want or need to align.
Right.
You also referenced the other advisors, and that's a critical part of it, because each one brings an element, and they all have to be coordinated and understand what the other one does.
Right.
So you don't have people that are stepping on the other person's message.
It's truly a collaborative effort.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.